All right, so the recordings started.
So I'm just going to share my screen now. So this is basically exactly where we stopped last time. So just a second. Yeah, this is basically exactly where we stopped last time, where we showed you what we have already built and the code that we have written particularly for this session. So, Ishit, have you joined the session, the coding session in VS Code?
Yeah, it's actually just joining. I'm signing in, so you can continue for that time.
So, sure. So, today in our agenda, we basically are going to, so just a second, let me have a look over here. So, what we're going to do for today is we're going to create the whole top bar. So, this top bar with all the styling and stuff, because there are a few new concepts and new style properties that we haven't discussed yet being used over here. Then we are going to create, then we're going to look into JavaScript. So, for those who have not done like a lot of coding before, we're going to just go through the very basics of coding and what variables and functions are, and then we're going to do an intro to JavaScript particularly. And then we also have some additional pieces in our agenda. If you can get to those, that'd be amazing. Like creating this menu, just the UI for now, and then the news items. So just let's get started. So I hope all the doubts have already been cleared. I could not join for the doubt session today. So I hope those that had any doubts have already got it cleared. So should we start, Ishit?
Yeah, sure. All right. Someone asked, "Will you show us how to use Fountain?" Awesome. Yeah, we'll do that in this session. And you tried, I tried, but my CSS sheet is not compiling with my HTML code. Prerit, can you just check if the link tag has the correct spelling and the href has the correct spelling of the file, and that the files are in the same folder?
Also, I'm just gonna send it on the group that we are starting now.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, another thing that could be happening. Uh, okay, can you guys hear me? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So another thing that could be happening with the CSS thing is that it might not be loading the changes that you've made. So to force your changes, because sometimes the browser just saves the files in its memory so that it does not have to fetch the static files again and again. So to force it to get the file from the actual source, just press Ctrl Shift and R, and that will force it to reload all of the files and not take anything from its memory. So yeah, either you can rename the file as Saya mentioned. So that solves the case issue because it becomes a new file altogether, or you can just press. This is in Chrome and Windows, I guess. So it's still not working. Okay, so let's go into that in a bit. There might be some syntax issue or something which should not be there. So otherwise, if it's a cache issue, then you can just do Control Shift up. Right. So Ishit, let's start.
Yeah.
So okay. So first of all, we have to begin with introducing the flex property, right?
Right.
The
So
flex CSS property, the display CSS property flex, and the position CSS position.
yeah, so let's just begin with the flex property.
Right. So do you want to go ahead with flex or should I?
Uh, let's do this. That I'll code in the CSS and you can explain side by side.
All right.
Right.
Sure. So yeah, so now what he's going to do is, so wait, you're changing it for the header ID div, right?
Yeah. First, I'm
Right.
commenting out the inline block so that those styling gets removed, and
Okay.
the header is back again in two lines.
Right, because we're going to use flex for the elements now. So yeah, so what he's going to do now is he's going to make the whole top bar, the div which contains the heading tag and the input tag of display type flex. So what flex basically does once, Ishit, you can start. So have we started? Yeah. So flex, you can take some cues from what flex means looking at the term. It basically goes for flexible, and by default the styling of the header itself is that it will act like a display block wherein it will take all the space that it can and it will reserve the whole line for itself. So flex, the extra styling in flex apart from the styling that is from display block itself is that it's now going to influence the tags inside of the header tag. So let's see how that happens. So let's give some the h2 tag and the search bar some flex properties. Just some example to show them how the ratios work. Not one. Let's give them 2 and 3. How about that?
All right.
So once we have that saved and I reload over here. So now you can now let's first see what's there in the code. We gave it a display flex, the header. We gave header h2, the h2 inside of the header, a flex property of 2, and the search bar a flex property of 3. So let me just full screen the Chrome tab and show you guys what the actual dimensions are. So you can see the header is taking 1052 pixels in width. The H2 is taking 421 pixels in width, and the search bar is taking 631. So the H2 and the search bar particularly, the dimensions when you look into them a bit with closer inspection, then you can see that they are in a ratio of 2:3, the exact values that we gave to them in code. So that's basically what the use of flex is at a very, very basic level. So right now we've just defined what the flex basis of these two elements are. Right. So if Ishad, you want to show the different properties in flex for the elements, flex basis, flex, the extension
Yeah.
properties in flex.
Right. So next, I thought we can do the aligning and justifying of the items.
Sure. Yeah. That too. That too. But I don't think it's going to change much over here, and we're going to talk about why. So yeah, it isn't changing. The justify content center did not change much over here because these elements are taking, like when you add them up, when you add the widths up, they're taking the whole space in the header. But say if we were to if we were to like give them some maximum widths, so if we uncomment them this out, and shit, how about we give them some maximum widths?
Sure. So I'll give you max width of 150 pixels to both.
Sure, that works. So right now you can see, before I've reloaded it, you can see that they're taking the all available space on the line with inside of the header tag. Now if I reload, okay, this should be expected that they're taking only the space that we have given the elements. The other, everything else is in overflow. So the search bar is actually extending a bit, but that's because that search bar inside of the div, so the input tag is taking more space. Right. So now you can see that they're taking only the space that we give it, and they're centered inside of the header tag. So that is what justify content is doing. Now justify content, the center property might not be the most interesting property about this particular this might not be the most interesting value for this particular property. What we can also do, which might be more interesting, would be space between. or space around, space evenly. Okay, let's first see space evenly. This is the most good looking, this is the most comfortable looking property for justify content when you have elements like these. So if I do space evenly and if I reload, so you have three parts where there is empty space. So one is going to be on the left of the H2, the second is going to be between the H2 and the search bar, and the third is going to be on the right of H2. Now all these three white spaces are equal in length. So that's what space evenly does. Now the others should be self-explanatory. When if you do space around, they'll basically be centered, I believe. So space around. Okay, so not exactly. So they're taking space themselves, and they're given space around
Right.
as well.
So what space around us is the white space around both the H2 and the search bar is same. So for example, on
Okay.
the left of the H2 there is 100 pixels, for example. Then on the right of H2 will also be 100 pixels, and on both left and right of search bar will also be 100 pixels. So that means that between the two elements there's 200 pixels of white space. In
Oh, right. Yeah.
space evenly, what was happening was that in all the three white spaces the width was same.
Yeah. So basically, yeah. So this is equal to this. If you can see exactly where my mouse goes till, and then this is equal to this, where the search bar div is ending, not the input tab. So till here, right? That makes sense. And then the you want to explain the other last property? I think the last interesting property for justify content.
Yeah.
If I just do, yeah. So there are a lot of properties over here. Now you can also see flex end and flex start. Uh, like you can play around with those. They're not very useful in a lot of times. But space around, space between, and space evenly. So space between is the only one left. Pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, there are the edges then. All the spaces between the elements. Now if we did not have max width over here, so I'll just remove the max width and then Ishit can go around explaining.
Yeah, so what he's doing now is basically they're taking the whole of the width that is available to them as before. So we provided the flex to the ratio of 2 to the header tag and a ratio of 3 to the search bar, right?
Yeah. Now let's like actually properly place these elements now.
Yeah,
Also, okay. First of all, like okay, so we explain justify content. Let's also explain all of the different like these properties: the flex grow property, shrink property, and the basis property, because these are very important when you're working with flexes. They literally give you a lot of flexibility in how you style them.
exactly.
So Ishit.
Yeah, I'll just start writing.
So okay, so I'll explain it. So have you given some value over there? I can't see.
No, I was wondering if you can actually show what all values are actually available.
So okay, so this value is again just like it's going to be numeric. So
Yeah.
we don't have to like give any pre. a sec. Okay, Ishit, can you still edit? I think
Uh,
okay, yeah, you can still
yeah,
edit.
I
Fair,
can.
fair. Right. So what flex grow basically does is it gives you the maximum ratio this element will take. So it's again a ratio. So let's just remove this for now and give you all the different properties. So flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis. So just like a very simple explanation, flex grow is the maximum ratio it's going to take with respect to all the other elements, sibling elements. Flex shrink is the minimum space proportionally it's going to take, and flex basis is the default space you want it to take. So what I can do over here is I can give it a flex grow of say 5, a flex shrink of 3, and a flex basis of let's say 300 pixels. So I want it to be 300 pixels. It can at most shrink to 3 proportionally with what the values of the other siblings are, and 5 it can grow to at most 5 with respect to what the values of the other elements are. So we'll just check this out in a bit. Let me also give similar values to the search bar. So flex, let's do a flex grow off, because I want this one to be a bit smaller than the h2 tag. So I'm going to give it a flex grow of 3. Flex basis, flex, let's do shrink first. Flex shrink of again 3. So both of these elements can they'll at least have to be the same width when they're at their smallest. So if both of them go below their flex basis, so the flex basis for this, let me set it at 500 pixels. So okay, so understand this. By default, this wants to take 500 pixels. By default, the H2 wants to take 300 pixels. Now, but they still have to take all available space. Right. So after it has taken this 300 pixels, so let me just show you guys a bit more demonstratively. So let me just save this and then reload. Okay, so not that way. So save this and then reload over here. So right now you can see that the width of the whole viewport is 595. Okay, 602. So right now it is 590. And there's a bit of a padding with the body tag. So around now should be when they're taking both 300 pixels, right around here. But if I expand it even further, you can see they start growing not so a bit disproportionately. So let me just make this full screen. So yeah, you can see it after a while they start growing a bit disproportionately. So can I just show you guys 541, 644. So that's because now both of them are taking more than their maximum widths. So both of them are growing proportionally right now. And if I reduce this to say what are the values are going to be, so minimum shrink. So when this viewport is smaller than 600 pixels, they're both going to take almost equal space, I believe, or in the proportion of flex shrink and flex basis. Maybe in the proportion of flex basis. Let's see. So this is taking 215 and 129. Am I? Yeah, that's what they're taking right now.
Right, so it's almost equal, I think.
No, it's not almost equal. There's a lot of difference over there. But is my browser refreshed properly? Have I made some mistake in the flex property? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so that's how it works. It's turning out to be a bit of an issue, like to just demonstrate this properly. So it's taking 573 pixels in width, and this is taking 664. So the ratio is still changing, you see. So that's what the flex basis, flex shrink. You can separate the ratios for when the width is larger and for when the width is smaller, and what the minimum values of these elements are going to be. So wait, did I do flex basis? So let me also give them a width of. Okay, so this might actually be how it works. So by default, they want to take equal space, and if I give them these widths instead of in the flex basis, so now this is taking 497, this is taking 618. So they're growing disproportionately now because after they exceed their certain, like the particular widths, they'll move to these flex grow ratios to resize themselves. And you can experiment around with this a lot because this is a new feature. But what we're going to do is we're not going to give all these values separately. So for our purpose, we already have the values that we want to give them. So the H2, let's also reduce the developer student clubs to DSC. It's a new maybe. So this is a bit smaller. And let me just add another div over here. ID, it's empty for now, so I'm gonna give it an ID of empty. So now this is gonna have a flex of 2. I can remove the width tags now because I'm giving the values all proportionally. So this is not going to be responsive now. I'm making this particularly for laptop screens. So I know how big I want all of these elements to be proportionally. This is going to have a flex of, say, 5. And the last div, which I just introduced, the empty div, is going to have a flex of 2. So once I do this, and also I also want to give the input a width of 100%. Now this
Right.
might
So we
actually,
haven't
yeah.
actually used percentage before, so I just wanted to take a point there
Oh,
that
okay.
I mean it's obviously what it will do. It basically gives the percentage whatever value we give the that value from the parent element. So the input is in the search bar division. So when we provide the width of 100%, it takes 100% width of the search bar parent.
So let's also show them how it works. So
Yeah.
a couple things I'm going to do is I'm going to take the font family all the way to all elements so that everything has pop-ins. So now again, if you remember, this is the selector to select all elements on screen on the web page, and I'm giving everything a font family of pop-ins. So I'm going to save this file now. Keep in mind the ratios over here 2:5:2. And when I reload, yeah. So now you can see that the header has the H2 that is taking 247. The search bar should be taking, yeah. So it has a lot of, okay, so right. So why it's a bit disproportionate is because we have padding and all over here. Okay. So, oh, right. Sorry. So it's actually not disproportionate in this sense because we don't have padding. So I'll also explain how padding influences this stuff. But if we have the H2, it's 247 multiplied by 5 upon 2, and you'll get this 620 almost. And then the last one, which is empty, it's taking also 247. So now we have all of them in ratio. And this is basically the layout we want, the ratio wise layout we want for the header. Now let's start including font also, Mishit. You think this is a natural beginning for that?
Yeah, so couple of things before. So someone asked if you could explain the flex again by showing it in inspect element. So I think
Okay, right. That,
it should take
sure.
just 2 minutes because this is an important thing.
Yeah, flex is very, very important. We're not going to cover grid in this workshop, but flex and grid, both of them are very, very important.
Yeah.
So just have a look at H2. So H2 has a flex property of 2. The div ID search bar has a flex property of 4. And the empty div ID has a flex property of 2. So you can see the H2 and the empty div both are taking exactly equal amounts of width. It's 278.94 pixels. If you can't see as clearly as I can, they're taking exactly equal amount of width, even though empty does not have anything inside of it right now. And then the search bar is taking 697.34 pixels, which is basically this 278.94 into 2.5 or into 5 upon 2. So H2 and empty both have a flex property of 2, and the search bar has a flex property of 5. So the total width of the page or the total width of the header tag in this case is being divided into all of them according to the ratio which we gave in the flex property. That's basically what's happening. You can again see exactly what we're doing. We haven't given them any particular width. We have removed all the width tags from these elements, the H2, the search bar, and the empty. And all of the space, all of the distribution of available space is being done on the basis of these flex values. Right. Any doubts? What if we write 1 instead of 2? So let me just make it 1. So now you can also see, so the total will now be 1, 5, 2. So 1 plus 5 plus 2 is 8. So now the H2 will get 1 upon 8th of the width. The search bar will get 5 upon 8th of the width, and the empty will get 2 upon 8th. So empty and the search bar should increase in size widthwise, while the H2 should decrease. Yeah, both of them increased. So the search bar shifted a bit from the right, as you can see, and the search bar also became larger. So that's what happens. And if you wanted to make them all equal, what we'll do is we'll just give them all a flex of 1. So this is a very common thing that we use to make all the elements in a line equal. Now all of these have exactly equal width. Fair?
Yeah,
Any
I
other
guess
doubts,
that's
guys?
it.
Yeah, because this
Right.
is,
So
like as Ashit said, an important concept.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so next thing what I wanted to do was someone also asked, what if you want to center only one element, right? So this thing is actually what you'll be doing very often. So just to, for example, we'll be centering the input in the search bar division, right? So just to display it, what I'm going to do is for the search bar, I'm going to give it a background color of say red, right? And now I'm going to give the display of the search bar also as flex. Now you won't notice any difference because there's only one element in that in the search bar, so it will just remain the same. But now what I can do is, as we introduce the justify content property, we can give this a justify content of center, right? So what this will do is center your content in the search bar, right? And justify just means it will go, it's for the horizontal alignment, right? So and for the vertical alignment, the property is align items, and this is also here also I'm going to give the value of center, so
So
this
let's
will
actually,
align
so this will be
yeah.
middle, not center. But let's actually
No, no,
use
no.
the align items.
Yeah.
I think this will be middle though.
No, this is center only. That's fine. So this will center your children in the search bar. Exactly.
Okay, let's
Right.
actually use this in the, so over here as well, I guess, but also use it in the header, because
Yeah.
right now the H2 and the search are a bit misaligned uh, vertically. So if
Yeah.
I add this over here and if I reload, you can see
Yeah.
now they are aligned centrally, vertically as well. So
Right.
div does not
So
have anything, so
this
you can't
is
see
some,
that.
yeah. So this is something actually that you would be making use of very often to center your elements.
And yeah, so if we just show them the align items property possibilities, so by default it is at stretch. What stretch means is, so just to show what exactly is happening, if I reload again, so this is, it didn't change.
No, no, no. It won't change in the header because everything is aligned perfectly. We can show this in the search bar. So if we make the align items in the search bar to be stretch and then save it, you'll see the height of the input will be 100%.
Right. Yeah. So you can see now it's expanding it to take all available space. So yeah, so this isn't stretch, but wait a sec. Why didn't so if we just remove this from here for a second, something's wrong with my web page. Okay, let me. Yeah, fine. Thank God. So again, so if wait, why is it not changing some stylings? Search bar.
No, I think it's align item says stretch by default, right? So if you don't provide anything, it will be stretch, and it will stretch across the whole height of the search bar division.
Okay, so Chrome is a bit unpredictable right now, but do try these values yourself as well. We're gonna show you around with all of them. So web development does take a while to get used to. All right. So wanna move forward, Ishit?
Yeah. So I think we can reduce the font awesome icons. That is a kind of fun thing.
Right. That's actually very fun. So Font Awesome is this amazing service where you can just go and let me just full screen this for now. So you can just like go ahead and use all of the icons available over there. So if I click on icons, it will load up all the icons. So it brought me to the gallery. So you have all these icons which you can just like pick and just use them directly in your web page. Now to use this, so what happened with Font Awesome is it used to be completely free. Now they have changed their model a bit, so we're gonna use a bit outdated version of Font Awesome. So to use it in this project, we're gonna use so, sorry, not fontawesome.com, but I'll look for Font Awesome CDN. Let me remove the HTTPS.
Right.
So
So what
searching for Font
CDN
Awesome
is,
CDN.
yeah, so what CDN is basically imports different libraries into your web project without going through the hustle of manually downloading everything.
Yeah, so CDN, the full form of CDN is Content Delivery Network. So, say if you're using this link, right? So this link is going to be same for a variety of projects that also get it from like this particular link. So multiple websites can be using this particular link to import Font Awesome. The browsers in this case have this saved locally, so they won't have to fetch this file again and again. So even your website loads a bit quicker if this file is say cached in the browser itself. So this is an upside of caching as opposed to what we saw before, the downside of caching, where you had to reload the web page again and again to make it work. But what I can do is I can just copy this, go back to my index.html, and add another link tag over here. So as we did for both the CSS files, the Google Fonts and our own CSS file, I'll just go ahead and add a link tag. Provide this link I copied in the href, and again give it the relation to be a style sheet. Close it. That's basically all you have to do to get Font Awesome on your website. Now using Font Awesome is what we're going to do now. So let me just close this. And for this, to just use the Font Awesome icons, like without any extra CSS, you don't actually have to edit any CSS. You only have to go to the search bar, add an I. So an I element, as you can see in the description over here, it represents a span of text in an alternate voice or mode, but you don't have to like, so I is basically for italics, but we do not use the B tag, the I tag, and all other tags. So just a second. So Sarthak is asking what are the relations we use. Practically, we don't really use anything other than the style sheet relation. If I look for all possible values, it's not giving me any, I believe. Okay, I can open this, but yeah, it's mostly a style sheet. There are a very limited number of types that you would want to get through a link tag, but you can look for them later on, I guess. So right now we're going to include the icon. An I tag, we just have to give it a class of FA. So that stands for font awesome. And then like use whatever icon we want to use from over here. So for this, let's take the search icon. So search is generally also going to be named search. So yeah, so you just look at what the name is over here. Copy icon name it says. So just add FA hyphen search and close the tag. So I added an I tag with a class of FA and FA search. And let's also like just to make this tag unique, so to use it, I'm also gonna add the search icon ID so that Ishit can use it over there. So now, just when I've just added the link and the HTML over here, you can see what's happening on the page over here. So that small icon over there, it just got added through Font Awesome. So again, to recap very quickly, we added the link to the CSS, to the general Font Awesome CSS over here from the CADN Content Delivery Network link. And then we added the icon in I tag. Basically, you're not going to use it anywhere else. And inside of it, we have to mandatorily use FA. So we'll give it a class of FA first, and then give it a class of FA hyphen whatever icon we want to use. So FA tells it to actually style this element, and FA search gives it the exact element we want it to style it to. So that's all that I've done till now. So Ishit can now start with actually styling this to show up how it shows up over here, like this. So Ishit, do you want me to move to style.css now?
Yeah.
Right. Let's also give the flex values back again. So we have it at 111 right now. So 2, 5, and 2. Very quickly. Yeah, that's better. Figuring flex values is not exactly trial and error. You can like Aishit, you can continue. I'm just answering a question over here.
Yeah. Okay.
So you whichever looks best in a sense, but you'll generally have some idea of what ratios you want to use, because when you like keep designing these websites, you start to get an idea of what looks best. So it's not always trial and error, but you're gonna learn the standards and the basics. So yeah, that gives you an idea. Okay, so Ishit has now used the position of absolute. So what a position of absolute does, so Ishit, you might also want to give the search bar position relative.
Yeah. So I thought first
Okay,
we'll
so
just display.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So position of absolute and top of 0 and left of 0. So let's save this and reload the page. So Ishit, you want to explain?
Yeah, sure. So what we did here was we gave the position property the value of absolute for the search icon. So what this does is basically positions your element in relative to your web page, right? So it has an absolute position, which means you can give the pixel perfect position to your element. So right now I've given the top of 0 and left of 0. So that's why you can see that it's in the top left corner of the web page, right? Now, currently what's happening is this element is relative to the whole web page. So next what we can do is make this relative to just the search bar. For that, what we're going to do is add the property of a position relative to the search bar. And then you can see how the search icon moves. Right. So now it's in the top left corner of just the search bar and not the entire web page because it's relative to the search bar.
Sarthak is asking why the search bar color is filling the whole div. That's because we
Yeah.
just like move the background. We can move the background again back. We just move the background to show you guys like exactly what the search by dimensions are. So we had moved the background from the input to the search bar itself. So that's why it was showing the background over there. Do you want me to reload, Ishit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
now it's back. But we just wanted to show you guys that the search bar div started like a bit above the search bar input. So the input is in the middle of the div. So, but this element is getting positioned relative to the div and not just the input because it is inside of the div and the div is positioned relative now. A bit confusing, I guess, over here, but these positionings are like only the third most important thing that you're going to use.
Yeah.
Displays, positions, and I guess actually it's the second most important. Ishit, let's move forward. Explain it.
Yeah, so what actually I was doing was I gave the background color there because if you can go to the web page that we built, the search icon was in the search bar and the search bar had this background color. So I was just trying to make that uh,
Yeah.
like cloning that. And what we can do here is give the background of, sorry, transparent to the input. So instead of white, it will be transparent, so it shows off the color behind.
So now the input does not have a background color basically.
Yeah.
Right. So let's move forward a bit then. Let's position it centrally, vertically. Ishit,
All
the
right.
search bar icon.
So I'm going to use this another property called transform.
Oh, this is again. So this was the third most important.
Yeah.
So it's display, position, and transform. So this is going to get a bit confusing, guys. Actually, it's going to get a lot confusing. So let me explain this over here very quickly. So let's just save what Ishit did. And this is a wonderful piece of code. Like you're always going to use this. Let's also, just to get a better explanation, I'm also going to
Yeah.
give it a left of 10. Now, what happened over here? Is it possible to, okay, so a question, is it possible to just include the icon in the placeholder text? No, it is not, unfortunately, because the icon, you can't give a class to a placeholder. So you're gonna have to manually tell Font Awesome, you're gonna have to manually write some code to try to style the placeholder instead. I'm not even sure if that's possible, but that's not feasible at least. That's not the best way to go about it even.
Yeah.
So let's see why this icon is now appearing where it is appearing right now. So we gave it a top of 50 pixels. So it moved. So let's just remove the transform for a bit.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, you can see that it moved 50% of this search bar div's height down from the top. Till here, it's very easy to understand what's going on. It's 10 pixels from the left and 50% of the height of the search bar div, it moved from the top. So now it's starting at half point. You can style the placeholder using the placeholders. Yes, you can style it using the placeholder, but you can't give it a class. So that's what I was saying. So you can style it using the placeholder. Uh, so we moved it 50% of the height down. So it's starting at midpoint vertically, and it's 10 pixels from the left. So now what we need to use to position it vertically centered is using the transform. And transform is a special property in the sense that the percentage you give over here is very different from the percentage you give over here. The percentage you give over here is in terms of the containing element of, in this case, the search icon. So the percentage is 50% of the search bar, since the search icon is directly inside of the search bar, and the search bar is position relative, like which we defined over here. and the transform, the 50 minus 50% is taking its own height. So what it's doing is it's first positioning it from the top 50% as it is like in the web page right now, and then when I reload, it's going to move half of its own height up. Okay, so Chanchla, let's just go through it quickly again. Or can Siddharth, can you
All
answer
right.
that question in the chat?
Yeah.
That'd be better, I guess. Uh, yeah, so in this case, now what we've done is we did move it 50% of the search bar's height down, but we also moved it minus 50% of its own height. So, okay, so again, comment out, save, reload. It's down over here. Now, if I like logically think about this, if I move it 50% of its own height up, its center is going to be its center is going to align with the center of the search bar. So that is what is happening over here. Now you can keep trying this particular piece of code again and again. This is generally the best way to do it. If you have some elements that you have to like position absolutely, like you want pixel perfect positioning. Uh, so I think we can't as if you recall, we can't actually add another tag inside of the input tag. The input tag does not have any contents. Right. If you remember, that's why the text inside of the input text, we put it in the placeholder. So we can't
Right.
add an I
So
tag inside
what we
of the
can
input
do
tag.
to actually, yeah, so to just make it better aligned, what I'm going to do is add a padding left in the input itself. So let's say
So
30 pixels.
wait. Instead of that, how about we like reduce the height to coincide with the input height?
Yeah,
So how
sure.
about we make the search bar equal to the input height? So it'll be a bit smaller. So over here, flex 5. What's giving it the height actually? So the H2 is giving it the height, I believe. So in H2, if I just remove the margin, yeah, now everything's smaller. Now again, as we talked before, the heading tags actually have some default styling. So they have some margin top and margin bottom. We basically just removed those margin properties. That's why all the tags became a bit smaller. Sarthak, again, so the position tag cannot be relative to input because let me just show you the HTML. The I class is not inside of the input. We can't actually put anything inside of the input because the input is like you can't close an input tag. If I try to close something, it closes the div. If I do close, like if I force it to be the input tag, it actually isn't like it's not going to complain, but it isn't going to make any sense. We can't actually put anything inside of the input tag. So that's why you can't position it relative to the input tag itself. Ishit, back to you.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that was it. We actually wanted to introduce JavaScript today. So instead of introducing a whole lot,
Yeah,
I think we can just give the basics of JavaScript in the console itself.
right. So I just made it a little bit prettier using padding left. So the
Yeah.
placeholder now starts with 40 pixels from the left. So that's just so that like the search icon is separate from everything else. Now we can make it a lot prettier, but like you guys have learned all of those properties before. So let's start with JavaScript. Okay, so we have 6 minutes left. Let's introduce
Yeah.
JavaScript pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So again, let's use a script tag for now, and we'll show you how to move this code again outside of this file.
All right. So what script tag does is basically is uh, just what it says exactly. It includes a script of sorts into your HTML code. Now, the type property explains or basically defines that we'll be giving a JavaScript code to the script tag. So I think the first thing that we should do is console.log, because this will probably be the most important and the most common thing that you will do while writing JavaScript code.
And just to point out, Siddharth Bodawala in the chat is absolutely right over there. So he's basically checked what Font Awesome's CSS is doing. He's giving the content exactly equal to the hex property that Font Awesome uses. So you can do that as well. But it's generally like that's not something that they want you to use, but it's a like fair way to use it. So you can try out that as well later on. So you just screenshot it. That's actually a very interesting implementation to while you're learning these things. So thanks a lot for that over there. Now let's continue with the JavaScript issue.
Yeah. So, right, I'll just write console.log, the most basic thing, which is hello world.
Right. So let's show them what this does. Okay, so let's like just for those who haven't done much. Is anybody over here who does not have the slightest bit of idea what a function is? Anybody who has not done any coding before, did not have C or Java, whatever. So I'm gonna take that as a no. Okay, so Satvik
Yes,
has no
someone
idea.
has. That's
Satvik has no
fine.
idea.
So,
Yeah, let's just
till
show
now,
what
with
this
just
particular line
only
does.
one thing. Yeah.
So he's done console.log hello.world and in a very self-explanatory way. Uh, we'll go to the console in the developer tools, and when I reload, you'll see hello world over here. So console.log hello world, it just showed hello world in the console.
Right.
Uh,
Now, in any browser, this console tab is like the will be your kind of best friend, because while debugging your web page, you'll always come back to this console to search for any errors or whatever might be happening in your web page.
so yeah, that's the most basic thing you do in JavaScript. We haven't actually we did cover a lot of CSS, so let's cover a bit more of JavaScript, maybe
Yeah.
variables and stuff. So do you want to do JavaScript uh, in the index file or in the console right now? Because I think they can try out in the console like in a much better way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So we can do it in
So
the
you can add
console
the
itself.
yeah, you can add the code in VS Code. I'll keep adding that to the console.
Yeah, exactly.
So what we're showing over here is Ishit is going to write the code over there, but we're not going to save the file again and again to run the file. This console that you have in Chrome, this is basically what we call an REPL. So just write down REPL somewhere and look it up later on, or we'll explain it in the next session. But we can run JavaScript in a live session in Chrome. So if you just like want a reminder, it's REPL. Okay. So we define a variable. A variable is something which can hold different values of hello world.
Right. And variable one is just one name. I could have given it the name of X, Y, or basically anything. Just remember that it needs to start with a character and it can't be started with the integer.
Mhm. So now he's gonna like print out the variable. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna also print out the variable. But since I have two variables over, I'm also gonna plus both the variables. Oh, sorry, console.log, not just console. My bad. So he was printing out variable one. I'm printing out variable one plus x. Since both had the value hello world, it gives me hello world twice. So once it is variable one, and the second time it is from x. So variables can hold any value that you can think of in code. We're gonna use variables a lot. Uh, we're gonna use functions a lot. Uh, yeah, that too. So I'm going to give it x1 is equal to 5 and console dot log x1.
right? And you can also do basic arithmetic here, which is obviously what coding is, right?
So x1 plus 10 gives me 15. But if I do x plus 10, x is a string, x1 is a number. So if I do x plus 10, it gives me hello world 10. So it does not like add the number because there is no number in x. So it adds the number like as a string. So it does hello world 10.
Right. So
We're going to talk
JavaScript,
about, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead,
yeah.
Nishit.
Right. So I was just saying that JavaScript is a much smarter and a modern language than, say, Java or C++, because if you try to do this, what he did, that x plus 10, where x was a string and 10 is an integer, it would give you an error in Java or C++ or C, right? But JavaScript being a language made more specifically for web pages only, it is smart enough to modify itself.
So yeah, so there's a lot of things how JavaScript is different. Node.js, it's a locally running version of JavaScript. You can run like a lot of JavaScript code over there, which is different from the browser. We're not going to talk about Node.js because it's in the backend, Sayam, but great to see the enthusiasm. JavaScript, somebody was talking about typing in JavaScript. Siddharth was telling us about how variables don't have a type. So in JavaScript, there is no explicit typing like in C or Java. Will there be a backend workshop if there is enough interest? I held one last year. We had to cancel midway because people did not have a lot of interest. This time, I'm challenging you guys a bit more. So I hope there are more interested people this time. But like in Java and C, we have to do int and stuff and like then give the value over here. But in JavaScript, we can use let. So this can again hold any kind of variable, number, string, anything. Another way to use is const. If I do const x 3 is equal to 10, then if I try to change x3, it'll give me an error because const gives me a constant variable. And the
Right.
third one, which isn't really used a lot anymore, is var. So this isn't something that you would generally need to use. I think it will be deprecated in a short amount of time. Not sure when, but you want to use let or const. Satya, we can talk about those later on. Yeah, as Raj said, that's not a one-liner. There's a lot of pros and cons.
Exactly.
Uh, so this
So
is a
yeah,
very basic introduction to JavaScript.
yeah, I think it's already time anyway. So we just introduced the basics of JavaScript, and I think we can continue from tomorrow. Now we can just like summarize what we did today. It wasn't
Yeah, and
much,
then
but
everybody can go back to
it
watching IPL. So Ishit,
yeah,
back to you.
yeah. So it wasn't much, but it's one of the most important things that you will be using in almost every web project that you might be doing, right? So the first thing that we did was introduce Flexbox to you, which actually took a lot of time because it is one of the key important things while in CSS, right? So we introduced Flexbox. What is Flexbox? What does Flex do? How to justify and align your items in the align your content in the Flexbox. What is what is meant by giving a integer value to the property flex? How it gives the ratio to each element, right? Then we even included the position at property and the absolute and relative values, and also the transform property with the translate value. Now, transform actually has many different values, so we won't be covering all of them in this session, but please go ahead and play with them by yourself because transform is also a very interesting property. Then we just introduce the basics of JavaScript, what is console, and how to define variables in JavaScript, and why you don't actually need to give a particular type to the variable, say it is a string or a boolean or an integer.
So Sayam will be uploading the recording. You can go through that section again on YouTube. So that should be available soon.
Yeah, and Sarthak, you can check Siddharth's message. He included a video on CSS grids because we won't be covering grids in this session.
We did not add anything to script.js, Satvik. We aren't using script.js yet. So you
Yeah,
might have
we
seen
just
that
use
file
script
in
tag.
the editor, but we are not using it yet. So that's it for this session, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow we hope to cover so that's the end of the CSS for you. Maybe like one or more property or something, like maybe a position value or something.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that's basically it. And tomorrow we're gonna be doing mostly JavaScript and just like creating HTML elements, CSS stylings like in a much faster fashion, so that we can create this page like I guess hopefully by the 26th. So on the 26th, I think we should be done for this project itself. So somebody was asking to explain grid. So Sarthak, so Siddharth is like one of the people who I believe to be one of the best people for web development in my university, our university. So as he did, just like as Siddharth did as well, he learned a lot of stuff himself. So this is what we want you guys to do. So we're gonna challenge you over here, but you also need to challenge you yourself. Just look for videos online, look for resources online, and keep learning stuff on your own because we can't possibly like explain everything to you and like we can't explain it the best way either. So just look for stuff yourself as well, and we'll try to get as much done over here as well. So we'll see you guys
Yeah.
tomorrow then.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining, and please make sure that you join tomorrow because tomorrow we'll be covering a lot of JavaScript, which is
Yeah, it's gonna be
very
very
important.
important. Yeah. So we'll see you guys tomorrow then. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye, guys.